I came home from my father's funeral before sunrise, thinking I'd collapse on my couch, maybe let the grief wash over me in silence. But instead, I drove straight into a nightmare. A giant auction sign was staked right in my yard. Two men in expensive suits walking across my pasture with clipboards like they already owned the place. And the president of the HOA, Melissa Grant, standing there in her polished heels, dialing 911 on me, reporting that I was trespassing on my own ranch. That image, her smirk as she whispered into the phone, that's burned into me. That was the moment I knew she wasn't just a nuisance neighbor anymore. She was trying to erase my entire family's history with a single fake order. My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm a rancher in northern Colorado, third generation. My granddad bought 47 acres back in '67, carved a living out of raw land, hammered cedar posts by hand, laid down the gravel road that still leads to my porch. My wife passed away 2 years ago from cancer, so it's just me and my 16-year-old daughter, Lily, running cattle and keeping this place alive. 30 head, endless chores, and a legacy that mattered more than money. For 60 years, this land has been ours. No HOA, no outside rules. But 3 years ago, a subdivision sprouted up next door. Shiny vinyl houses, manicured lawns, and of course, a homeowners association. They elected Melissa Grant as president. She'd moved in from Denver with urban development ideas. The type who mailed citations if your Christmas lights stayed up a week too long. From the day she arrived, she targeted me, said my cedar fence leaned 18 inches into their common area, filed odor complaints about my cattle in the summer, even told me my gravel driveway clashed with their landscaped entrance. I ignored her. I wasn't in her HOA, didn't owe them anything. But ignoring Melissa was like ignoring a rattlesnake in your boot. It just waits for the right time to strike. Then I got the call every son dreads. My father had a heart attack in Montana. I drove north that night, left Hank, my old neighbor, to check cattle, and sent Lily to stay with her best friend. I thought a week away was safe. But halfway through the funeral, Lily texted me, "Dad, something's happening at the ranch. Come home." I sped through the night, headlights cutting mountain fog, heart hammering harder than my old truck's pistons. Dawn broke as I turned through my gate. But instead of grazing cattle, I saw those two men in suits measuring my fence line. And that damn auction sign. I climbed out, boots crunching on the gravel my grandfather laid down, and asked, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The taller man barely looked up. "Pre-auction assessment. This property is scheduled for sale Saturday." My jaw locked. "This is my land. You're trespassing." The shorter one smirked. "We have legal authorization. Don't interfere." My fists clenched. And then Melissa's Mercedes slid up the drive, dust cloud billowing behind her. She stepped out like she owned the sunrise. Blazer pressed, voice dripping with false politeness. "Mr. Brooks, you're in violation of a court order. These gentlemen are within their rights." I shouted. "What court order? I never got anything." She just pulled out her phone, sweet as sugar. "Yes, police? We have a trespasser here." When Deputy Carla showed up, I thought logic would win. Her daughter went to school with Lily. But Melissa handed her a thick folder, bold letters across the top. Notice of property forfeiture. According to her papers, I owed $47,000 in HOA fines and had abandoned part of my land. I nearly laughed in disbelief. "Carla, I've never seen this before. I've paid taxes here every year." Melissa cut in, smug. "Ignorance isn't a defense. He refused certified mail. I pulled out my deed. Tax records, everything. Carla frowned, caught between me and the paperwork. Melissa snapped. Remove him from HOA property. I barked back. This is my ranch. Carla finally said she couldn't arrest anyone. It was civil, not criminal. Melissa's eyes narrowed like a snake. The auction is Saturday. Every hour costs us money. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at my father's photo. Exhaustion crushing me. I'd just buried him. And now I was staring at losing the very land he'd raised me on. The documents looked official. My lawyer was on vacation. No one else would take the case on short notice. For the first time in my life, I wondered if I should just give up, let them take it. Maybe Melissa was too powerful. Maybe this fight was unwinnable. The thought of Lily watching me fail, that stung worst of all. But Hank knocked on the door before midnight. He'd been a county surveyor for 40 years. He slapped his hand on the table and said, "That fence hasn't moved in half a century. Don't you dare quit now. Daniel." And Lily, my kid, she showed me county records she'd found online. The HOA hadn't filed the required permits for a property auction. Not a single one. She looked me dead in the eye. "Dad, they're bluffing." My despair cracked, replaced by fire. If Melissa wanted war, she'd damn well get one. I called Sarah Kim, a property rights attorney with a reputation for tearing crooked HOAs apart. She flipped through Melissa's documents with her brow furrowed deeper each page. Finally, she looked at me. "This isn't just harassment. This is fraud. Some of these signatures, this one here, it's forged." She dialed the surveyor whose name was on the 2022 map. On speakerphone, he shouted, "That's not my signature. That's identity theft." Sarah smirked. "Then we've got them." Meanwhile, my young neighbor Ben, who ran a YouTube channel, started filming everything. Melissa giving tours of my ranch to potential buyers. Strangers snapping photos of my barn like they already owned it. His video, HOA trying to steal my neighbor's ranch, went viral overnight. Local news vans pulled up by Thursday. Reporters shoved mics in Melissa's face. She ducked every question. I didn't have to defend myself anymore. Melissa's arrogance was exposing itself. Friday morning, the showdown hit. My yard looked like a fairground. Neighbors with cameras, reporters, deputies leaning against cruisers, and 2 black FBI SUVs parked by the gate because Sarah had sent them every forged document. Melissa rolled up in her Mercedes like it was Coronation Day. Dr. Benton, her vice president, followed like a nervous puppy. She strode forward, yelling, "This auction will proceed." Sarah walked up calmly, handed her a court injunction, and said, "Melissa Grant, you are legally required to stop this auction." Melissa's eyes went wild. She ripped the paper to shreds in front of the cameras. Gasps swept the crowd. That single move sealed her fate. Sheriff Davis read the injunction aloud, then turned to her. "Ma'am, this is valid. You're finished." At that moment, the real surveyor stepped forward, holding his license. "That's my name on your papers, but that's not my signature. You forged it." Melissa's face drained of color, and then Agent Rodriguez from the FBI stepped forward, voice steady as steel. "Melissa Grant, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, and attempted property theft." He cuffed her right there as she shrieked, "This is my community! You'll regret this!" No one answered. Her board members backed away like she was contagious. Neighbors who'd once stayed quiet shook their heads. Some even shouted at her, calling her a liar. I just stood still, hands at my sides, staring at the auction sign wobbling in the dirt. Sheriff Davis looked at me and said, "It's your land, Daniel. You want to do the honors?" I yanked that sign out and snapped it across my knee. The crack echoed across the pasture, and in that instant, every ounce of doubt inside me vanished. Melissa screamed from the back of the FBI SUV as they shut the door on her. Her empire collapsed in minutes. Her authority, her fake documents, her arrogance. And me? I stood on the gravel drive my grandfather had poured, the same drive my father had walked every morning, and felt the weight lift off my chest. The ranch was still mine, always had been, always would be. The crowd dispersed slowly, whispers filling the air, cameras flashing. But I didn't smile, didn't celebrate. I just watched Melissa's Mercedes sit abandoned in my driveway while she was hauled away in chains, and I felt a quiet satisfaction deeper than any cheer could match. She'd thought she could bend the law, bend the truth, bend me, but the land bent for no one. And that's the story of how I nearly lost my family's ranch, how a power-hungry HOA president tried to wipe out 3 generations of work, and how she ended up exposed in front of everyone. Some battles you don't choose, they choose you, and when they do, you stand your ground or you lose everything. The lesson is simple. When power gets abused, you fight back. Because, if you don't, they'll take everything. And that's why I share my story here on HOA Drama Unfolded.